Hey guys, it's Dave. Seems like it's been a minute since we talked about Hoya, but I want to look at two that need to be retrellised, and it addresses questions that I get all the time. And so I'll make I think it should be a relatively short video, famous last words. We'll see. And then I want to just take a look at a couple others that are trellised and show you how I would deal with it. The first one is my Hoya buotii, and it is an elementary school problem to solve. Friends, it does not matter if I start this video at 8 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, the mailman is going to come to the house and set the German Shepherd off, which is what has just happened. We've all regained our composure here so that we can talk about my Hoya buotii. Now, I'm approaching 1 year on YouTube. That seems fast. So I can officially say, in one of my early videos, I featured this plant as Can It Be Saved? And through my negligence, I had just put it somewhere I couldn't really see it, and then I saw the leaves didn't look great, and I don't know, ignored the problem, hoped for the best, hope it would solve itself. It's always worked for me in my life. No? What was left was a node and a leaf in a prop box. And, not bad. It's looking really, really good now. Very healthy. It has here not a very promising peduncle, and here one that does look more promising. Certainly need to make sure I'm on top of watering, or neither one of these are going to produce. Probably just the one is going to. In a video, probably celebrating green plants like I enjoy doing, I mentioned that this plant was driving me crazy because it was twining in between the wire, and I was constantly carefully undoing it, especially with those new soft leaves, and wrapping it around. And Anastasia, do you watch Anna with Plants? You probably should. You probably should watch that instead of my channel, even though she does have the character flaw of liking Anthurium. No one's perfect. JK. She said she lets hers go buck wild, my word. And I thought, well, of course that makes sense. That's what I would do with every other trellis when it reaches the top of, say, a bamboo horseshoe, is let it go and then drape it down and then back up so that that growth tip isn't pointed down, aka away from the light. And that is not the direction your Hoya is going to grow. Very likely will abandon it and start a new growth point somewhere else. The risk you run, risk in quotes, is that you will start getting longer internodal spacing. Oh, our word's going to be a struggle for me. I'm in a constant battle with the English language. Y'all know that by now. I mean, come on. You can call it America's official language. That doesn't mean I'm going to speak it well. Lord. So no big deal. Because once I put this down, it's really, even if there were some leaves coming on, it wasn't really going to do anything. What makes this an elementary school problem is that this is a very pliable vine. And let me take care not to destroy this growth tip. So it's growing off of this side, which means the natural bend would be clockwise. As you can see, this has just naturally grown counterclockwise up the trellis, as have all of my Hoya, every single one. I have heard people talk about exceptions. I've heard of people growing them well clockwise. I don't know why I would do that, since all of my Hoya, if left to their own devices, they grow counterclockwise. Let me dispel one piece of confusion on this. I've heard many people, and I've seen it in other people's videos in the comments, note that if you put it counterclockwise up one side, if you turn the trellis the other direction, now it's clockwise. It is not. There is no orientation that you can make counterclockwise clockwise. It cannot be done. If you want to test it yourself, take a piece of cord or string and wrap it around your remote control and play with it, and you'll note that you can't undo counterclockwise, so it will remain that way. So what I'm going to do is take a gentle, and do it slowly, bend, and I typically look for a clip that's already on the plant if it's not going to squeeze the daylights out of the vine. These are very thin vines. It's not going to put on any more muscle, so to speak. And I know of what I speak. So there it is. It's clipped in there. I could let this continue on, or I could just find a spot to secure it. There are new leaves coming on. I cannot tell if you can see that or not, but there are 2 new leaves coming on right here. I don't want to pin that against anything because that obviously won't look pretty when those come out. So what I think I'm going to do, it's got a little hook here because I had it attached to my Magnifica. I am just, for now, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to pin it down any further than that. And I'm going to let it grow out. It will no doubt grab a hold of itself and grow back up the trellis. And I'm okay with that. It is March something, early, early mid-March. And this is going to take off. No question about it. I knew last year was going to be its recovery year. This will be the year it goes. And well worth it for that gorgeous, gorgeous bloom. This is my Hoya hanhiae. One I thought I'd be able to bring more people along for the experience of this great plant, and nobody cares. So this could be a much larger plant had I not propagated so much of it. And I ended up just giving away cuttings because, like I said, nobody showed any interest in it, even though I have been its #1 advocate. It's a great plant, pretty flowers. This one is pink, and I don't know what's not to like about this. But I get pictures sent to me all the time. My email's available in the information about Super Plant Guide. I get pictures of kind of plants like this, asking how you get this onto the wire trellis, the tower trellis. You know, my answer for this is pretty much you don't. These grow very thick vines and kind of get trunk-like, almost like morelli. Not as bad as, say, like carrii. But for this, I would probably just put 2 pieces of bamboo like I have done here. I trimmed this one back fairly recently, and I'm going to trim this one too. Actually, I'll do it right now. Of all the people in the world to have briefly misplaced the bonsai scissors, me. And if you're not in on that inside joke, I love bonsai scissors. I mention them constantly. So I'm going to trim that down because I am quite confident that that will push it a little bit to grow more. I took a peek under here and I saw a lot of good white roots. So this plant is looking great. This is a little excessive. It's probably just what I had handy. And over the winter, you know, I haven't been fussing with plants a whole lot. So anyway, a wonderful plant, trickier to grow than a lot of Hoya. If you're prone to rotting out roots from overwatering, in air quotes, yeah, you have to get used to dialing that back a bit. But anyway, I'm talking to myself now because I am quite confident none of you care. All right, moving on to cheap and easy, just like yours truly. Crassipetiolata. Beautiful, beautiful foliage. Like I said, very inexpensive plant. If you see one that's priced kind of nosebleedy, don't buy it. Do not do it. These grow so incredibly fast. I know people are obsessed with the splashy ones, whatever you get, don't overpay because they're easy to propagate and they grow like gangbusters. I have just been cutting this one back and cutting this back. This one has a piece of twine that I put across here and then up the middle so I could give this fuller look. What I will do is do another horseshoe trellis on the side so that there'll be 4 posts for it to grow up and make a nice plant. I don't know, this might be a little too basic for a lot of you advanced Hoya growers. I don't know. However, I think if we've learned anything over the last few years, it's rare today, common tomorrow. So I would never pay for rare plants. At least I wouldn't pay rare plant pricing. I have a lot of uncommon Hoya that cost more because there just isn't a huge demand for, but slap a rare something or other on a plant and charge hundreds of dollars for a cutting? No, thank you. Hoya australis subspecies tenuipes. I have taken some care to learn how to pronounce tenuipes. I believe that's accepted. If it's not, what's new on this channel? Mispronouncing words is part of what I do. It is most of my charm, let's be honest about that. This is the much preferred green version to the variegated Lisa, which is also subspecies tenuipes. And I'm kidding, I know most people do prefer the variegated plant. I'm not one of them, I like this one. Last year should have been, make sure I'm in focus, this plant's year. It was covered in peduncles constantly, and it's in desperate need for a repot. It was on the really warm side of my plant porch. Did it get underwatered from time to time? Let's not dig too deep into this. Then we're going to end up with who's at fault. And if I stop right now, no one's at fault. We just don't know what happened, why it didn't bloom one single time. Why is this a university level problem? Well, the substrate is old. It might be 3 years old. This plant is thirsty all the time, and bamboo does not last forever. It is resistant to rot. It's not impervious to rot. And at least 2 of these have broken. So we're not in a good situation with this plant. The other thing we have going on, due to no one's fault, is one of these vines may have some root rot because of whatever happened last year. And I saw, there are occasionally a couple of yellowing leaves like this. And, it's my strongest advice. And if you've been on the channel for a while, I don't really give advice. But if you see a yellow leaf, don't just throw it away. Examine it. That might be the beginning of spider mites, wherever it is on the plant. Especially if it's lower on the plant, but take a look at it. Just make sure. I lost my New Guinea ghost by ignoring very obvious signs of spider mites, and I guess I just didn't believe it could happen to me. What I will be using is my tried and true Cocoa Choir Chips number 3 perlite and a little charcoal, which I've started using again. My friend Kim at Crazy Plant Gal have been badgering me for 3 years to start using charcoal again. You win. I'm using charcoal again. And I think also a lot of orchid people use it. So I'm not happy with what I got. I got a bag of that espoma, and it's very fine charcoal. I have purchased it before where it was nice and chunky. I also bought an emergency bag of espoma perlite dust. A $14 bag of dust. And so when people talk about perlite floating up through substrate, yeah, I've had that too, back when I was using like that espoma, just really small perlite. Chunky mixes with really larger size, I was gonna say jumbo, but that's hardly jumbo perlite. It does not float up. If you were to drench your plant so quickly that it flooded up and everything raised, perhaps so, but I'm very happy with this mix. Very simple. I know that you guys have been around, have heard this a million times, but I just kept dropping off pieces of substrate and pieces of substrate because, I started, when I was looking at the money I was spending on substrate, I was measuring that against, like, couldn't I be buying more plants with this money? Like, pumice is very expensive to get in Iowa. And I was like, well, what does, break it down. What does it do differently? It's heavy, but once I found really large perlite, that didn't become a big problem with it floating up, like I said. And what does this other additive do for the substrate? And if it's just creating air, do I need 3 or 4 products that are just creating air? And if I'm feeding it either MSU fertilizer, which is what I feed Hoya, when I'm not feeding GT Foliage Focus occasionally, well balanced, got all the micronutrients, I don't really need bat guano and worm casting tea, whatever all that fuss is. All right, maybe I won't talk about substrate again all year. Just kidding. If you want to know what I use specifically, it's linked in my Amazon storefront down below there. Still happy with everything I recommended last year in my must-haves, although I think I'll update that video. I think I'm probably more comfortable talking about things and elaborating and comparing, that kind of thing. I was so new, I just wanted to get a video out with some good products. So at any rate, I think I'm just going to dump this here on the table with a mat and see what those roots look like, see where we're at, and then I'm going to show you the solution I have come up with for this. I think it's probably obvious to you that what I do not want to do is try to unwrap this even though these are broken. All right, it has been a long time since I've seen these roots. Let us see what we have. Let us see if we can get these out. Now you don't want to go crazy pulling on the stems of your Hoya. Don't do that. I have a miracle tool I'm going to grab from the kitchen. Okay. Oh, looks good. Okay. And so I have 1 broken, 2 broken, yep, 3 are broken, and whoop, 4 are broken. And this looks pretty good. Well twirled around the bottom, but that's, you can see how dry this is, and I just watered it very recently. Today is Tuesday, and I think I watered this on Friday or Saturday. There should be some moisture in here. But again, this is a lot of foliage to be feeding water to, so maybe not. I'm not gonna go crazy here undoing this. You know, there is a lot of stale material in here. I might go a little crazy. Now, I think a lot of people might look at a plant like this and wonder if it's worth the fuss. You know, it takes up a lot of space and it's just a plain old australis, tenuipes. I think so. The blooms are very pretty. They're not spectacular. They're reputed to smell really good. So I'm interested in that. I like all those things. And it's an easy grower. I really feel like it's nice to have some easy going plants that you don't have to think too much about. Last year I had a whole lot of propagation, starter plants, seedlings. Those are more work by far than a plant like this. You know, you take something in a 3-inch container, 2-inch container, those need constant attention. Whereas this is, you know, once a week or so, you water it, check for pests, clean it, you know, monthly during the season. Oh boy, don't forget, if you are in a climate like mine where we are in between seasons, this is when pests are ready to invade and feed. And for us in Iowa, that means spider mites for sure. I am working on my first plant vlog, which will be, I think, useful for a lot of people in that I will just take some little chores, break them down, I should say. And I'm not taking, they're not little chores, but I will be piece by piece doing chores. Nothing has to be done all at once. And then I'll have a topic for every chore. So it's fun. I think it'll be entertaining, and it'll be my first, you know, longer video in a very, very long time. So I'm looking forward to putting that out. Okay, I went a little hog wild on this. It started coming out very easily. And I think I'm just going to get a new version of this that is already clean, or go clean this one real quick. Okay, had a brand new basalt pot sitting right to my left. I have these 2 3-foot bamboo hoops. What I have done this time is I bought a bottle of rubber cement. By the way, you have to show an ID to buy rubber cement. So I don't know if I just have the look of someone that's going to be huffing that out of a paper bag on the curb, or if that's for everybody. But my wife was quite surprised. Oh, she's so innocent. She's so innocent, friends. And so I rubbed the rubber cement. It's tacky, even though it's dry, against my dog, and now it's, you know, covered in fur. That's her fault. I was just minding my own business, carrying this through the house from outside. So hopefully that will prevent this from rotting out. I did make a point to put plenty of rubber cement in and around the opening of the bamboo, because it would all be for naught if the water could just be wicked up through the inside of the bamboo. How I'm going to accomplish this with just one person, I do not know. My wife is at work as usual while I do these projects. So I think what I'm going to do is get this plant situated in here, have zip ties ready, which I generally hate to use, but this is the perfect application, and then scoot the table back so maybe you can see more of this. I am sure that everything is going to go just great. Let's just get into it here, see what happens. Let's see here. Okay, that was about to make no sense. I'm going to go to an 8-inch pot. That makes sense. Listen, you're not watching the brightest bulb on YouTube right now, but we'll get through this. Let's see. Keeping in mind that when I potted this up in that 6-inch pot, there were almost no roots. So I certainly am not one of those believers that all Hoya have to be in these tiny pots to flower and do their thing. I have gone on about that time to time on this channel. I'm just going to fill in around there, and then we will get to trellising. I'm a big fan of just using my hands, obviously. I know many of you will already know that, but I don't have any patience for little shovels and spoons and spatulas, and I just don't. I don't pack it in real tight or anything. Just, this is gonna fill it in, just that shake or a bang or something like that. It's good. Doesn't have to be filled all the way up either. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that each of these bamboo hoops is down past the lip of this plant so that it's somewhat stable without adding the longer hoops. Really do need my wife here today. First chandelier hit of the season. I'm just gently threading in between the plant. This is really going remarkably easily. I don't know, I was anticipating something more challenging than this. Holy smokes. Okay, this is too good to be true. Let's get this zip tied before the spell is broken. Heck yeah. And then this year, I'm so happy to see those roots looking so good. I was not expecting that. Definitely not. Now you know I'm gonna trim that down and make it look nice. That's a guarantee. And then what do you think? Just at the, yeah, we don't need more than another one up at the top here. I am just going to tease out some leaves here. There we go. And figure out where the top of the trellis is, or near the top. And make sure that I'm not zip tying any vines. That seems important. While you can't see this side, it is much simpler. I am just going between one vine and zip tying it. I'm going to repeat that on the other side, and then I'm going to rejoin you. And here we are, probably a little bit backlit, but in the plant porch. We are going to set this up, do it right. I'll give you a little tour of the porch because it has 3 zones in one pretty small room. But I've been working hard at cleaning this up during our gorgeous weather here in Iowa. But how good does that look? And it was not that difficult. I have a tendency to put things off that I think are going to be incredibly difficult, and then I start the project and that's either quickly confirmed in some cases, meaning anything ever I've worked on this old house, or sometimes it is really simple, like this plant project. I think that's it for today. I'm going to water this in, put it back in its spot, and we are going to wait for some gorgeous blooms. Join me again in the next one real soon, okay? Bye-bye.